Interesting placement, David.
Oh, you guys really made this interesting for me.
There's an outlet over here.
Well, it sounds fascist.
Yeah. We're an impact our team now.
Do we have 2 judges in here? Yeah. Wait, we have our judges raise their hand?
Okay, well, we're out here.
Okay.
We really did fuck with them.
Good corners.
Okay, is everyone good to go?
Yep.
Mr. McKendree? Observation 1 is the framework. The role of the ballot is to endorse the team with the best method to destroy civilization. Endorse the team with the best method to destroy civilization. The reason for this one is that civilization enacts in a form of dualism in which the self is separated from the world. The A point is that this is able to justify the extermination of the other because the dualism is a physical separation from the way my political body is able to exist. The B point is that the shaping of the norms and the lifestyles we are able to do is because dualism is able to determine what is outside and inside. The C point is that the oversimplification of life to these two forms ultimately makes it so there is an oversimplification to the painting of reality. There is no way in which you're able to separate from this because civilization is the narrative of this oversimplification. The second point is that the piecemeal reforms are able to fail. The A point is that the colossal dangers that we have created through greenhouse gas emissions, nuclear waste, deforestation, elimination, genocide are not able to be overcome because civilization is what necessitates these violences in the first place. The third point is that if nothing but destruction is able to solve the threat. The A point is that if ordinary individuals are not able to survive in this instance now, this is why 1 billion people live on less than $1 a day and suffer from malnutrition, yet there is food waste of over billions of dollars of food wasted every single day. The B point is that the trusting in the powers is functionally used because there is no drastic step that we can take through the forms that be in order to change the system because that system will always recreate itself in the same way, but also the usage of those forms is able to justify its existence in the first place. The links one. The topic ultimately leads to a civilization's hand-washing of the waste horrors that we are able to cause through CAFOs. The A point is that CAFOs are necessitated by relationship to how we view ourselves in the world. As we explained under the first framework part, this is why we've seen an increase in CAFOs by over 230% in just the last 20 years. The B point is that the resolution is able to highlight CAFOs and ignore the rest of civilization and say that it is not as bad as this. The C point is that if civilization is including domestication of the wild, and the CAFO is the height of domestication as it can take over 86 billion chickens in order to kill them, 113 million pigs, but also billions of cows around the world, and they're able to justify their extermination. The second point is that state action is we ultimately see the civilization is a mobilization of the state in order to cover up the violence it has ultimately created. This is exactly the way rhetoric is able to be used around green technology because if green technology is good, then we can ignore the way that we are functionally. Human beings are the worst emitters of all existence, of all life on this planet. Also, the third point is the narrative of progress. These civilizations, the progress to the future of perfection. This is always saying that civilization, we can make it better. It's the argument not only of reformism, but also the futurism of the way that the state is able to shape itself. The fourth point is that if CAFOs are symbolic of the overconsumption of civilization, the A point is that the way that we are able to overconsume and necessitate the need for red meat when we can perfectly live without it. The B point is that the calling for reformism papers over the consumption of ethic of the civilization that justifies the exploitation of the non-human. The impact one is of externalizing of violence and the macabre of genocidal horrors. The A point is that if everyday civilization exists, millions of non-humans are able to die and be exterminated. The B point is that if every day that we are here on this planet as a civilization, it leads to the poisoning of others because civilization is the height of the Eurocentric existence. This is why over billions of animals are able to die, but also reasons why we've been able to decrease 90% of our biodiversity in the world. The second point is that there's no value to life. The domestication of the wild means that there's only things that are domestic have life. That means that everything else is just seen as useless, but the cogs in the machine that we have become are ultimately the bastardization of the way the world is meant to exist. We create a resentment against each other because we are bystanders to this type of rhetorical violence, but also the violence we commit in front of our eyes. This means that we have resentment to the others, but also to ourselves. There's no community building here, which means there is no salvation for civilization. The advocacy. Vote affirmative to rewild this space as an act of eco-extremism. Vote affirmative to rewild this space as an act of eco-extremism. The solvency point one is that rewild is a rejection of domesticity in all spaces. The A point is that transforming into the forest and the anarchy. We ultimately see that around the world there are places in which civilization does not exist, such as Zambia, which is specifically 2,000 miles wide or square miles wide, where 2 million people are able to live in peace, no without civilization, but they also live in harmony with the earth. The B point is that if our significant instance ultimately leads to a gradual seepage back into the way nature was meant to be. The sequence of the wild corrodes away at the civil, like the water diminishes the stone. This ultimately means that over time we will see the slow collapse through the affirmative. The second point is that of eco-extremism is the destruction of all that exists, including the hyper-civilized. The techno-industrial was never meant to exist in the first place. There is no existence if we allow civilization, but also the techno-industrial for speed, and the way that we have ultimately seen that speed is God, and the way that we see machines are other gods. There is distortion of the mirror of the better of life. This water is able to distort how we view the other, which ultimately means we are able to destroy the other because the computer is our king. The third point is that there is no saving of civilization. The eighth point is that the eco-extremism is a pessimistic view concerning the human endeavor. Every endeavor is necessitated by a negative impact, and that negative impact is necessitated a mask. This mask makes it seem like a good thing. The ends are able to justify the means. My story now doesn't matter if we ultimately have a better story for the majority. The minority, it doesn't matter. They don't have a voice, so animals can't talk about their crimes. This is all reason why eco-extremism is pessimistic, because the narrative is always bad. The main point is that if modern civilization seeks subjugation of all to itself and its hubris, is ultimately going to lead to its downfall. Our pride in how we are able to Eurocentrically view the world, saying that one civilization is king over all, erases the way that others are able to engage. This is why we had to necessitate the erase of the Native Americans, because their engagement with the land and their co-creation of the way life was able to exist was ultimately seen as a threat to the Eurocentric view that civilization of the West is the best. This is why we had to kill 50 million Native Americans. The otherization does result in killing of humans, but most importantly, the non-human is ultimately going to be falling extinct if we do not do this, which ultimately leads to our extinction. It is a question of how we balance the scales.
What does it mean to rewild a space?
It means to annihilate all that is civilized.
Okay, and how do you do that?
Through the ballot.
So we just sign a ballot and we're rewilding the space?
Yeah.
Sure. Does that sound fine to you?
Yeah.
The order's going to be one off in case. Anybody not ready? Basically, we want to see ontology, construction, and blackness comes first. Little a say ontology underwrites the ways we think and account for the world. That means it comes before any thought or action that we do in the world. Little b say human position is developed in opposition to the a human position of slave. This parasitic extension in the middle passes between two things. First, without the slave can be no world, and second, there can be no slave in the world. That positionality robs black bodies of potential, stripping meaning in specific cases, i.e. debate, and makes meaning contingent on the destruction of black flesh, which makes gratuitous violence inevitable. Little second argument is that the antagonism between blackness and whiteness is fundamental and irreconcilable. Three warrants to this. Little a's contingency white civil society requires an in and out distinction between what is constituted as the state and what is constituted as white. This feature makes the existence of whiteness contingent on destruction of black flesh, because whiteness is constantly constructing itself in opposition to the slave. Whiteness must destroy black flesh and coat it with fungibility in order to create value for whites. Second is irresolvability. This antagonism cannot be resolved without the destruction of one or the other. It is impossible to not pick a side because the two must exist in conflict for either side to exist. Blackness is determined entirely its proximity to the slave, while whiteness is defined by its being opposition to blackness. That's historically true. Bodies that are now marked white have historically not been marked white, but because black skin is not marked on Irish and Italian bodies, for example, those bodies become white. Next, the links. First,
Add the demarcation.
the third argument is demarcation. The material reality of black skin, there's a demarcation between whiteness and blackness that is fundamentally irresolvable because of the everyday material reality of black skin. We say that that makes it so that black bodies can have specific identities in certain specific instances, but in societal instances, it's always already denied, and the blackness or whiteness always acts in opposition to that, which constitutes a demarcation. Links? First off, we say that blackness is always hypervisible, or blackness is always hypervisible in status quo. The affirmative failed to confront this with instruction. Look, the affirmative says that they're doing environmental terrorism, but they don't give you a specific reason, way that fundamental antagonism exists. It's fair to consider the way that blackness is constructed and how that perpetuates that societal norms.
And our argument is that antagonism informs all other antagonism.
And our argument is that our antagonism becomes for all other antagonisms because it's a fundamental way that society is constructed. We say that society in the United States didn't exist before the Middle Passage, but the Middle Passage exists before white civil society. That's a fundamental frame question for that. Next, we say that's a fundamental supremacy question. The world cannot be constructed without a slave. Only the destruction of this position in white civil society can render value on the black bodies. Next is the impacts. First is absolute dereliction. Black body resides in an ontological state of dereliction. We say that in its manifestation of bullets, black body acts as a map response to response contingent. We say that the contrast bodies for its violence can be contingent. Blackness is experienced without analog past or heritage. To discuss other forms of structural violence like environmental terrorism, it's always already discussing anti-blackness. Second is that we say that humanist is bad. We say that the affirmative relies on the base assumption of law of the way humanity works and the way that humanism works. We say that there's an internal failure of logic in humanism. Humanism dictates there can be no slave, but white civil society mandates the existence of the slave. That acts as a terminal solvency for the affirmative because it does not destroy white civil society. Next, we say that black exhaustion, the black body is forced to commoditize in order to participate within the debate space. It's forced to participate within power structures, rely on the destruction of black flesh in order to participate. That's the alternative. Vote negative to end the motherfucking world. Vote negative to end the motherfucking world. First, that only the destruction of white civil society can create a space where value is possible. We say that its existence precludes solvency and existence precludes solvency, which means only the alternative can deconstruct colonization. Second is the affirmative is a survival strategy, or the alternative is survival strategy. White civil society is constantly weaponized against blackness. Every component of white civil society of whiteness codes fungibility onto the black body and continually enacts violence on that. We say that we're destroying the massive tools that cannot be used against the black body. Next, that the alternative is decolonization. The colony permeates all white civil society. Anything less than destruction is nothing at all. Colonization is bloody already, which we see the alternative to try or die. Next, that death is inevitable. There's no impact of the extinction of the world that's not coded on black bodies perpetually. Do not preference fragility the way to go before the ontological conditions that are imposed on the black body daily. Next, that we break down how we think about the structures of the debate. It's important to insert these questions or these ontological questions into the debate space to destroy the elements of white civil society that pervade them. That's the only way that we can reform the debate space. Framework of the F. First up, we say the fundamental antagonism.
No, roll the ballot first. Obviously, we meet that better.
On the roll of ballot. Obviously, we meet that better. We are literally advocating for the destruction of the world. That's all completely different than the affirmative because they're saying that there's just an act of environmental terrorism. They don't give you an explanation of why that specific act would be a destruction of the world. But we say we get to that further because we're literally advocating for the end of the motherfucking world.
And the antagonism means that we're the only way to resolve it.
And the antagonism means that we're the only way to resolve because the destruction of one leads to the extinction or the destruction of the one leads to the destruction of the other. We ultimately see that those two subjects.
White civil society is built on the existence of the black body as the slave, right?
White civil society is built on the existence of the black body as a slave. We say that the destruction of this subject position destroys the harm to white civil society and the harms that whiteness ultimately creates on the black body. On framework. First, we say that ultimately the framing is inherently wrong. We say that the middle passage existed before civilization existed in America, which means a couple of things. First off, it means that anti-blackness is the fundamental way that the world is constructed, which means that the fundamental concept of the other is ultimately just a masking way to explain the way that white civil society and anti-blackness works. That means you're always going to be preferring the framework of the affirmative in every single case because of the way that the affirmative highlights the fundamental antagonism, and we say that highlighting the fundamental antagonism is always going to be inherently better because it gives us a specific locus to concentrate terrorism on in order to solve back for. That's always going to be better. Next argument is we say that the environmental terrorism, the affirmative allows for white supremacists to kill black bodies. We say that white supremacists use this as a justification to kill black bodies as a way to as a way of as a way. The white supremacists use this as an object to kill black bodies, using the confusion of the way that environmental terrorism works to destroy black bodies. They label black bodies as responsible for being responsible for the destruction of the world. That's the way that white supremacy works. They label black bodies as being responsible for things like unemployment and job loss, and they use that as a way to create violence. We say that the affirmative provides a unique opportunity for white civil society to send white supremacists to kill black bodies. That's always going to lead to the perpetuation of the violence of the status quo. It's always going to be inherently net worse. We say the alternative avoids this specific link because we say that we are completely a direct antagonism to white civil society, which means you're always going to be preferring the alternative because it solves back for the affirmative better, and it is a direct impact against
Advocacy, please.
All right, so sorry. On the advocacy.
This is nonsense, perhaps? I don't know what this means. I don't know what it does.
First off, they don't explain to you what environmental terrorism means. They just say that they're going to do environmental terrorism, and that's going to be a solvency mechanism. But we say that doesn't give you any specific way of how they do that environmental terrorism, or how they or the method of the way that they do that environmental terrorism.
We have a concrete strategy that would end the world, that would resolve all of the.
We have a concrete strategy that would end the world that was always resolved in the solvency of the affirmative. We say that we bring back the extinction of the world faster because we have specific targets in a specific direction to go.
And you say rewilding is bad because white society already thinks the black body is wild, which justifies violence against them.
We say that rewilding is bad because the white society already thinks that the black body is wild, which justifies more continual violence against them.
On the Mike Brown warrant, please.
Fine. We say that this is particularly true with Mike Brown. They thought Mike Brown was wild for carrying a packet of Skittles, so they shot him.
That's Trayvon, but whatever. It doesn't matter. They kill all of them.
They ultimately kill all of the bodies. We say that the affirmative is always going to be a prior question to the entirety of the alternative is going to be a prior question to the affirmative.
Status of the alternative.
Unconditional.
Can we get a copy?
Sure.
What does it mean to end the world?
Our argument is by any means necessary.
Okay, does that mean killing everybody too?
I mean, all of it's gone, all of it. I mean, I guess you should say we have the same level of specificity to how we do it as you do, but our argument is that the result of the alternative would be the end of the world.
Okay. How do we make the black hyper-visible?
We say the black body is already hyper-visible.
How does the act make it more? That was your first link.
Oh, sorry, give me a second. Can't do So the first link is not necessarily that you make the black body more hypervisible, although we do have that rewilding argument on the advocacy, but our first link argument is that the black body is necessarily always hypervisible, which means that anything less than the complete destruction of white society means that they are always the objects of that.
How does the AF commodify and debate the existence of black people?
Yeah, our argument is that somehow the destruction of animals is a prior question to the destruction of black flesh. Our argument for that means the black body is already always hypervisible because it means that there are other things that are more important than the black body, which allows violence against the black body to continue.
Did development from hunter-gatherer to agriculture happen before the Middle Passage? Did the development of
development which society?
No, I'm saying did developments in human existence from hunter-gatherer to agriculture happen before the Middle Passage?
Well, our argument is that the creation of the subject position of the slave is what allowed that development to happen in the
so
first place.
the Middle Passage happened first?
Yes.
Alright. It's gonna be the neg in the order of the alternative insolvency. Then the framework links impacts. Then it's going to be the advocacy and solvency. Our frameworks, our links, and our impacts.
Could you do the app order again, please?
Yeah, the app order is going to be our advocacy and solvency, and then framework links impacts.
Thank you.
Everybody's. Where are my judges again? 1, 2, 3. Alright, if I make contact with everybody else, it's because I forgot where the judges are. Okay. As an overview to the negative, this strategy is not competitive with the affirmative when the affirmative team is destroying civilization, which white civil society is a subset of, which means they're not functionally competitive, which means you only vote for the affirmative team. Now, first of all, on the advocacy. My first response to the advocacy, perm do vote, perm do don't do the affirmative as in burn down the motherfucking world. Do the affirmative to burn down the motherfucking world. The A point is the purpose legitimate because of the fact that this is not a competitive alternative because the affirmative team is able to include the alternative. The B point is that this creates a double bind of the affirmative team is so strong that all the alternative is so strong overall against them to play or is so weak that that's what is solved into the little into this and that benefit expressed on this because the transition mechanism because you're not able to deal with the fact that we are talking about civilization, not society, and civilization becomes the root cause of societal problems that we face in my civil society. We are able to solve your planet's going to cross my disadvantage to this all alone. My first response to my disadvantage ultimately is that burning down ultimately goes too far. And this, you can look the way in which the affirmative team is talking about the way in which trees and life have a societal grade. Trees and life do not have social grammar, which means that you are ultimately there's no reason to burn them down, which is the affirmative alternative destroys the natural world, which ultimately becomes unnecessary. It's going to little be under this. Does that mean you create duality because you were saying that you have to burn down the natural world, which means that you were saying the natural world is disposable or for the sake of human liberation, which means that you relink it to the K, which means that there's a reason to drop down the T, which means we're able to say that you link to humanism. Which goes down to my next response here on your solvency. You talk about how death is inevitable. My first response to this is only with the negative team, which is we are able to say that we are able to suffer the way that the death is inevitable because it's only inevitable because the way in which civilization operates. My affirmative negative team is not able to suffer civilization. Make anything else on the solvency?
Nope.
Cool. On the framework. Of course, in the framework, when you talk about ontology, I have a few responses. My first response is you cannot look at ontology on its own because of the way in which the specific philosophers talk about the way in which you have to view ontology and epistemology altogether because the way in which ontology becomes particularly better state was going to my second response to this, where you talk about the fact that we were able to solve the ontological structuring of the middle passage. This is the way in which the production of the middle passage relied on the technological infrastructure by the things such as like voting and maritime and also agricultural societies that demanded for slaves. One of the big point of this indicates that the domestication becomes the root cause of violence because the way in which it decided to try and domesticate people in order to fund their technological findings, we were able to resolve this. Of course, the big second point where you talk about the middle passage. My response is that you may be correct about the middle passage, but you are not able to address the way in which the structure that produced the middle passage, and we were able to say that on the thesis level we were able to win the root cause of the debate, which also means that goes to which means that we were able to solve this. Next, you go to here's where you talk about antagonism. My response is the root cause of the antagonism and antagonism is dualism, which they do not respond to, which you can extend across on our framework as a reason why we were able to solve. On the links.
Can you respond to irresolvability and demarcation?
Oh yeah, I'll back to the framework. On your resolvability, my first response is that this is why we need to destroy civilization because civilization is the root cause. My second response, you talk about demarcation. What's demarcation again?
They're saying it's between it's the border between the black and the white body. It's a side of.
Oh yeah, we're gonna say that dualism is the root cause for this idea because the entire idea that there's a binary in the first place. When we were able to the concept of the binary, we were able to say that we were able to solve this problem, which was we were able to not just resolve the neg, we were also able to do it better. Anything else?
Create community.
My second response is we were able to create community, which is also able to check back for this altogether. Then on to the links. Of course, on the first one where you talk about the black body is hypervisible, I have three responses. My first response is that this is a link of omission. There's no reason why the affirmative team is making them more hypervisible. So my second response is this is absolutely no link at all, which goes to my third response is that we were able to resolve for this altogether. We were able to resolve for this. My first response is yeah. So my third response is that term we resolve anti-blackness because the way in which we were able to destroy white civil society and the process of rewilding. The A point of this is that whiteness is able to see itself as a narrative of progress, which is why colonization and slavery was justified underneath white civil society. The B point is that the way it is justified slavery is creating the idea of like bringing people into civilization, domestication, which is they're able to destroy. We are able to destroy the white narrative, which we are able to solve anti-blackness on the thesis level. Across my I got concept where you talk about supremacy. My first response is that we were able to solve this because we have a pessimistic view. This was in our solvency, extended across our solvency. We are a pessimistic view because we're pessimistic. We are the neg, but just better. But then goes down to my next response is that we were able to resolve this because of the fact that we solved social grammar we solved the social grammar of anti-blackness because all the arguments of exclusion and like personhood are solved when we are able to get rid of duality, which is the root cause of anti-blackness.
We don't cause these links which means the perm.
Yeah, we don't solve this links which means that the perm doesn't function even if we do the perm shields the links on the impacts. Alright. Across from the impact, my first response, this from the impact, my first response is that we become the internal link to be able to resolve social death because the way in which we are resolving the conditions that enforce the social deaths like police brutality, it's response to become the internal link to solve things such as like omnicide as well as deviance because the A point is that our thesis and hits and it is built into the project of civilization because of the dualism that creates it. The B point is that we have to prefer our word because the way in which genocide existed prior to slavery, just historically, slavery existed during the Peloponnesian era, which means there's another problem because it existed before, but the next one is that the middle passage was created through dualistic mindset that we were able to have a technological thing that justifies hurting other people. That's the advocacy. We're going to our advocacy. Proper. Anything else on the impact tonight? Okay. You talk about how we don't explain that it means extended cost or solvency is the reason why we're able to explain that it means my second response is that we are destroying motherfucking civilization. It's pretty clear when we talk about how we are widening this space with our solvency point. However, when it comes to the point, you talk about how like we're violating is black for black people. My first response is a term, we stop the genocide. You do not engage within our thesis level arguments in the framework when we talk about the way in which dualism is responsible for the way in which black people are considered bad. Being wild isn't bad. That's the entire argument. If we can say everyone becomes wild, that means we can solve the neg, which means white people can't use that as a reason to kill everybody. Which goes into my second response is we were able to say like the entire problem is the fact that wild is called bad, which is we were able to solve the rhetoric there. Next, we're going to grant us the cost of solvency point when we talk about how we create a form of a slow collapse as well as a but you don't respond to that. You don't respond to any of our solvency, which was 100% solvency, the affirmative, which we were able to solve all the alternatives to the extended consequence. We're not trying to save civilization. We say we are pessimistic. We do not save civilization. We destroy it. We rewild it. We solve the neg. It's not competitive.
Say the negative doesn't bring this faster.
The negative team does not do this faster. They don't give us a mechanism. All the affirmative. Yeah, they ultimately go too far because the way in which it is still linking to humanism and the fact that they're saying that we have to kill trees and animals in order to achieve liberation, which means we say burning down the world doesn't work. You just have to rewild it. Which you need to extend across the point about the modern civilization who creates a form of subjugation because the way of which pride that they are able to erase the natives. Extend across the point we talk about how 50 million natives were killed in order to justify this because they were also considered wild, which means we are able to resolve that as well on the framework. You talk about how we mean it's better. My response is that the affirmative team is able to subsume this first of all because you had a non-competitive advocacy, but also because of the fact that we were able to say that we solved the root cause of dualism. Extend across the reason to prefer about dualism. This reason to prefer means that you will be valuing the team that is able to stop dualism. The negative doesn't stop dualism, which means on a framing question alone, you have to vote F. On the middle passage, or you talk about how the middle passage was before civilization of America. I had three responses. My first response is that we were talking about the structures that created middle passage in the first place. My second response is that the slavery existed during the Peloponnesian era, which historically already existed before, which means that there was something in there before the middle passage that allowed that to happen in the first place. My third response is this, that we were able to talk about the way in which like murder and genocide was happening before slavery, just like the 50 million natives that were killed during the colonization. We were able to say that we were able to solve this because of the way in which we were able to stop genocide in the first place. You talk about how we are masking. We are the root cause. We solve the problem, which is dualism. You saying you solve the act without dealing with dualism is masking on its own. Next, you talk about the white supremacy is utilizing eco-extremism in order to kill black people. I have three responses. My first response is that white people are killing black people now. There's not even a uniqueness point to this. My second response is that white supremacy is utilizing dualism in order to excuse killing, which is to be able to say that we get rid of dualism, that there's no excuse for killing, but we be able to resolve this on the thesis level. Next, you talk about that you were able to turn on links, extend across to link 2, 3, and 4, which talk about how this is a narrative of progress, which is unique about also the an alternative to turn us because we're both pessimistic. We both say civilization is bad. We're dealing once and solve with the root cause, and we are able to do this better, extending across our impacts. We talk about external violence as well, no value life, which is because of the root cause of the neg, which means you have to vote affirmative to get any solvency.
Define civilization for me.
Civilization are institutions which are able to uphold what we consider normative society. So that would be things like college, banks, U.S. federal government, other forms of government, in order to say those are civilization because those make us civilized. So things instituted during the colonization era of Eurocentrism.